So it's about time that we learn the truth about Mars, Aries energy, and the truth about entrepreneurship. Now, some of us, maybe most of us, probably already know what the truth about entrepreneurship is, but just in case you don't, I'm going to break it down in the astrological sense for us. So, entrepreneurship, let's start there. The process of starting of running a business and continuing to run that business based upon being innovative, coming up with new ideas, being creative, and taking some risks. That, in a nutshell, is what entrepreneurship is. And it's strongly correlated with Aries and Mars because Mars is the starter. Aries is the starter. First of the zodiac wheel, bang, gets things going, right? But that's what it does in general. Aries and Mars, and this is not a shot at the planet or at the sign. Don't take it personally. There's really no need to. This is just a lesson. But that's its job. Its job is to come, create something new, start it, set it off, and then get up out of Dodge. Sure, they're going to come back around, and you'll see this in a lot of corporations, right? Point example is, let's say you got a cellular phone company and they release a phone every year. The next year, there's going to be an update to that phone, right? Whether you think it's worthy of the the new money you're going to pay or buying a new phone or not. We're not talking about that right now. What we're saying is, and what we're identifying is that there must be some new component added on to what was already there in order for the business to keep running, in order for the business to keep going. Now, some of y'all are saying, well, we don't need that. I didn't need an update. I can still use my phone from 2 years ago. As a matter of fact, I still got my phone from 2 years ago. And that is why we're having this conversation, if that's you. And even if that's not you and you get all of the new technological gadgets when they first come out or whatever product or service that we're talking about, kudos to you too. It is what it is. We're just breaking down the astrology when it comes to entrepreneurship because that's what the Aries and the Mars energy is there for, to get things going, to start it off, and then to dip off and probably throw more gum at the wall and see what sticks, either in that company or in another company. And really, a lot of the times, or at least some of the times, the goal of the entrepreneur is to sell that business. But how do they sell the business? They sell the business. You see, an entrepreneur who becomes the CEO, right? Founder, if you will, in some cases as well, unless the investor is the founders, or the investors are the founders, they really are independent contractors. And when you think about Mars and Aries energy, it is a solo act. It's independent. It's by itself. So the magician trick here, if you will, is that archetype starts things, but then it gets others to do it for them. And if you're truly an independent contractor, you're going to do all of the work that needs to be done by yourself, right or wrong. I don't know how many of y'all do freelance work. I know I do on the side sometimes. And I enjoy that part of my life because I get to do what I want to do for the most part, right? Someone gives me some stipulations or some directives. I carry it out. I don't even got to meet you some of the times, right? You pay me, you get what you need, we're done, right? Fair exchange, no robbery. But what happens when I start something, I come up with a dope idea, and then I say, man, it'd be even better if I can just get others to do this for me, and I can go run off to the Bahamas somewhere or get on a private jet and talk about how I work 80 hours a week. That would be fantastic, right? Because then they'll be dedicated to working 80 hours a week for me. I'm being sarcastic. I know you hear that, but I'm making my points, ain't I? So, and it's not like I have a dog in this fight, whether I'm going, pro entrepreneurship or anti-entrepreneurship. I'm really going to come to a conclusion like this is how capitalism is built. So stay tuned. So the magician trick, again, get others to do it for them instead of remaining an independent contractor. What happens is this gets protected and shielded by the Capricorn corporate structure, right? As soon as it's turned into an entity and it's no longer a mom and pop store, it's no longer a sole proprietor, solo, sun, exalted in Aries. It's no longer a sole proprietorship. You want to protect the assets. Why? Because the entrepreneur has learned how to make it profitable. Well, how did they learn how to make it profitable? Because they have hired others to do it for them. Well, how do they hire others to do it for them if they don't got no money? Because investors come in. Now we're talking about the Pisces energy, which are the hoarders of the world. I'm just keeping it a being, Pisces. I know y'all are probably largely watching this, but it's all good. You got to bear with me, because even if you're not a hoarder, when you get it, you're probably going to be one, because you're going to understand full circle what this thing is about. So Pisces also rules over large institutions when it expands to its fullest. Makes sense, doesn't it? Because Pisces is the last sign and it's the most expansive. It's as far as you can go, the 12th house. So it's protected by the Capricorn corporate shield, protects the assets. So when it comes to the spreadsheet, after that is done, the workforce is the liabilities. They're the first of the liabilities to get axed, by the way, when shit hits the fan, or more profits is wanted by who? By the investors. Because trust me, if it was all up to the entrepreneur, they'd probably have a heart somewhat and say, okay, well, I got to pay these people more. But because they have investors, they have more burden on them, and they're liable to do something not ethical, if you ask me, in my opinion. So what happens is they give this CEO or that CEO, that entrepreneur, a big lump sum of money every year, right? You could look up the CEOs, how much they get paid in major companies right now. And it's astronomical in comparison to what the workforce gets paid. That's why we have a wealth gap. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what capitalism is. Manipulated Aries and Mars energy turned into something that is capitalism. You go and decide and determine what capitalism is for you. I'm not going to bias that for you. But that's what it is. And that's how it is broken down in astrology. Now, listen, I learned this by healing my own anxiety with the Mars and Aries energy. That's how I learned how to heal it, because, like I said, I do freelance work. I'm an independent contractor on the side. And I also have a corporation. I'm not going to sit here in front like I don't, you know. My point here is, though, I'm more of the type of individual who prioritizes a parallel structure over a hierarchical one. I don't like to tote myself around like I'm the boss, I'm bossy. I don't got to do that. And there's a lot of people I know that don't got to do that. They don't do that. You know they're the boss. You know, but being a boss or being a leader is being able to see other people's talents and being able to place them strategically, methodically as well, so that it brings out the best in them. And they, in context or consequently, end up becoming leaders as well, because someone is going to watch them and be inspired by them as well. So that alone makes them a leader, makes them inspiring, makes them bring out that entrepreneurial spirit. You understand? So I'm looking for something more parallel in structure. And that just does not work in the rule of capitalism. And I get that. I understand that totally. You know what I mean? However, it doesn't mean that it can't be done, it won't be done, and that one must succumb, borrow some nice, we know that already, or, you know, one must adhere or bow down to the one structure that seems to be pervading over the entire world. Because when I say Mars and Aries energy is manipulated, it's being drained. Mars is energy. It's about individual energy. So if one person can come up with an idea and get 100 more soldiers, Mars, Aries energy is also soldier energy, to do the hard work for them. What they do is they sell out the workforce by paying them in such an astronomical way that the wealth gap is where it's at. Mars. You get what I'm saying? So it's not like you see it right now. 50,000 workers just got let off by a company. 10,000 workers just got laid off by a company. 10,000 workers got laid off by a company. I'm not even naming their names because I don't want to get it. Just look it up. Just do your own research. And I'm telling you, they're saying they're getting ready for a recession, or they're preparing for whatever the case may be. They're maintaining the profits for their investors. That's what they're doing. And the workforce gets sold out in the process. And it is what it is. So, you know, I don't know what your point of view is going to be after watching this or hearing this. You know what I mean? I don't know what you're going to choose to do after watching this or hearing this. But because we do astrology on this channel, I just want you to know, like, this is how it goes. This is how it works. All right? Because that entrepreneur, I'm telling you, a lot of entrepreneurs, they start talking that 80 hours of work shit. But Aries energy doesn't work like that. And if it worked, let me tell you this, you got to take this jump. If you're using Aries and Mars energy and you're believing that you got to do all of the work, then you're tricking yourself into being the soldier that gets exhausted, the workforce that gets sold out, because that's not what the energy is good for. The energy is good for what it does. Being creative, starting something new, getting it started. Yeah, you can get other people to do it for you, but how are you going to go about doing that? That's what's going to be the line for morality and ethics moving forward. It probably low-key always was, but the wealth gap just keeps expanding. Something's going to give, So check yourself, because if you become anxious, that's how people become anxious. Oh, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this right now. I got to do this before the first quarter, because the first quarter profits got to be this, that, and the third. Now, if you're doing that on your own, self-employed, this is where you got to check yourself and say, hey, listen, I'm one person, and I understand the reality of my life. If it doesn't pay enough to cover the cost, then I gotta downsize the cost, the overhead, or I gotta step up my skill set in order to obtain more wealth in this field, in this trade. You understand what I'm saying? But get out of that anxious feeling, get out of that anxious burden, because it's only going to destroy you. It's going to drain your energy. And that is why the magic trick is done. Magician ruled by Aries in the tarot, because the energy gets manipulated and put into other soldiers to carry those things out for them, to drain them. They will be the ones y'all are the ones working 80-hour weeks. Shit, I'm the one sometimes. That's what they don't tell you about that's what they don't tell you about being self-employed. There's a difference between being self-employed and being a CEO. Self-employed, you're going to be doing most of the work, at least until it gains enough traction for you to be able to hire someone. So where people are trying to get, or where a lot of the mega wealthy are, and they're not really telling, is they're the investor. They get the passive income. They put the money into it. And this is also how the stock market gets manipulated and things of that nature. Let me keep it on me. I don't have a money printer, but if I did, I'd have $1 billion business right now. You understand what I'm saying? Whoa, the capital would just magically come out of nowhere. And then I'd start hiring a whole lot of people. And I might think like, well, I don't want you living next to me, so I'll only pay you this much salary. I don't want you moving over here. I'm being sarcastic again. I'm hoping you're reading in between the lines so you can understand astrologically what this is about. When you get in the comment section, I would like if you would just ask questions that expand the conversation more, and touch on something that I maybe have spoken about or brought up, or expand on something that I did bring up, or let's get solution oriented if you feel like there is something immoral or unethical about what I've said and what I'm describing, or if you see it anywhere else in the world, right? What is the alternative to what appears to be the only type of structure that we have? That type of shit. You understand? Until next time, I'm out.